Have you heard about this personal and professional podcast?
Coaching in Session
with your host, Michael Rearden.
Now, this episode is going to be a doozy for the simple reason people don't necessarily like being told how they think or how they feel because they feel as if it's an attack on them. But I want you to understand something with the podcast and what we do at Reverend Concepts. All of the things we present and all the ideas that are there in full context and out of context are for you to take or for you not to take. It's almost like if you're going to the grocery store, no one is telling you necessarily what to buy. You need to buy this. You need to get this. You just do it naturally. You do it instinctively. But there's an issue because sometimes we don't do things instinctually. We do it because we were corralled to. Our mind was nurtured to think this way. We have to look at why this is happening. Sure enough, it has to do with the mind. We are going to be getting into my most recent blog, TOS Part 65, making our way up there. The power of the subliminal mind. Whoa. If what you think and what you buy is actually not your choice, could you say that your mind is yours? This is something that people don't necessarily think of in their given day. They think, I'm making all the choices, right? I'm in charge of my thoughts, my feelings, and my actions, and you're doing all of these things. But do you understand that something can be whispering in your mind, your body, or your soul that's saying, hey, if you want something in your life, for example, maybe you want some popcorn at the movies, right? And you don't get popcorn. Maybe you're watching your calories. You know popcorn is not good for you. So you're in the movie theater and you smell the buttery popcorn. You're like, oh, that smells good. Maybe I'm a little hungry too. Maybe also on the movie screen, you see all these people eating popcorn. And then, of course, the movies know they have like a picture of a popcorn on a roller coaster or something. And it's like, eat popcorn. And sure enough, you're like, man, I think I need to get some popcorn. And good thing the popcorn is not too far. I just have to go to the concession stand right there, and it's right there. Right. So it's not hard for me to get what I want. But then did we make that choice or was that choice made for us? Because we were trying to have the willpower not to get popcorn, maybe. Maybe you forgot, right? Maybe you knew you wanted popcorn and you just totally skipped it. And then this kind of reminded you to get there. Well, this subliminal message of eating popcorn is in all aspects of life and advertising when it comes to dealing with things underneath the threshold of our consciousness. What is that, right? Well, our consciousness is exactly what you're doing right now. You're thinking, right? You are in control of your thinking. Maybe you're thinking, Michael, you have lost your mind. Michael, you don't know what you're talking about, right? This is your conscious speaking. But then your subliminal, right? The threshold below that, right? Your subconscious, if you want to call it that, there's going to be messages that are going to be hitting you or within you that is going to give you some type of inkling to do something. I also like to call this planting the seed. You have heard me talk about this on the podcast already, where if I'm meeting a client and I understand they have a lot of things going on, the only thing I plan to do most of the time is I plant the seed. And I know from that seed, from me just giving them what they need, they are going to go in a roundabout way because they think sometimes you have to face everything head on. But the reality is you don't. Sometimes it's better to face things head on. For example, if you want to clean your room, right? You don't have to clean your kitchen and then clean your garage and then clean your living room. And then all of a sudden now you're in your room, right? If your goal was to clean your room, clean your room. Now, if your goal is to clean your house, now we're in a different story. People are just in that constant state of thinking, conscious, conscious, conscious. I'm in control of my conscious, but they don't even know that the subconscious or their subliminal that is happening in the mindset, they don't even necessarily know it. Now, this happens quite a bit with advertising. You can tell what time of the year you get the most subliminal messages. Now, you might think it's the holidays, you might think it's maybe, at the beginning of summer, right? All the people are in their bikinis and they're going to the beach and they're having so much fun. So the subliminal message is, I need to go to the beach to have fun. Like, come on, people. I think you're with me already. The most time spent on TV, or the most watch hours being spent on TV, is during the Super Bowl. I believe it was around 115 million people, 115 million people watched the Super Bowl. All right. I had to re-say that because I didn't get it, because I didn't give enough emphasis on million. All right. That's quite a bit of people, watching the Super Bowl or watching one program. Let me tell you, it costs maybe $1 million or something, or maybe even more now for a 10-second commercial or something on, for the Super Bowl. So like, if you want a whole minute, you're going to have to be dishing out some money. But they know they're going to get the views, right? They know they're going to get the people to watch their message. And I want you to pay close attention to this next Super Bowl. And it's only, 2 months away or something like that. I want you to pay attention to what type of commercials are happening. They're all subliminal. It's not like, hey, we have these awesome Doritos and I want you to go buy these Doritos because they taste so good, right? No, it's not that. Oh, you see this Coca-Cola right here? This is a really good drink. You should drink it. No, 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 it's not that. Pepsi, same thing. Domino's or Papa John's, this is the best pizza. You need to go get the best pizza. Okay, cool. Or, not that either. The subliminal messages that happen on the Super Bowl or even in just regular commercials is that you might be looking at almost like a movie where you see some people and they seem happy and maybe they're like dancing and they're by a bonfire and they're running on the beach and maybe they're holding hands and they're about to kiss and you're thinking like, what the heck am I watching? But it is an advertisement. But what they do, and this is dastardly, is that they have the logo or the image of whatever item that they're promoting flash quickly throughout the commercial. So for a Coca-Cola commercial, right? You might have a friend or something, get picked up, and then before they go, they have a sip of Coke and they put the Coke down. And then so now they're having fun and all the friends are out. And then guess what? They sit down and they have a cooler full of Coca-Cola, right? And they're drinking Coke and they're having fun and they're dancing, they're singing. This is the subliminal message, right? You need a Coke to have fun, right? Etc. What if we wanted to use the subliminal in a different way? Instead of just saying, well, I want to go deeper into my subconscious, or I don't want to only be in my conscious. I want to create something that's going to let me look at these subliminal message so I can make a choice. So when I'm eating popcorn at the movies, it's because I chose to do it, not because the movies told me, or because I want to buy Levi jeans, or because I want to buy Coca-Cola or Pepsi or Domino's or Papa John's or Doritos. I mean, we can go down the list all day long. What is the reason? Do you know your reason? And oftentimes, when you go into the grocery store, you are just operating in that sense of, what was I told this past week, month, whatever, this year? One of the reasons why America, especially America, is having a mental health issue is because we are not allowing our mind to do the work. Now, you might think like, why is your mind not working, right? I'm thinking all the time, but you're being told to think more frequently today than you have ever have before. So that means if someone is telling you what to do all the time, your boss is telling you to do, your wife is telling you what to do, the commercials are telling you what to do, you're going to lose your identity. And this is one of the issues that many teens are facing and many adults are facing, is like they don't even know who they are. And then that creates mental illness down the road because now they're unstable, they're stressed, they're anxious, and there's a problem now. Well, what if we can tap into the subliminal? Great thing. I said, I'm going to write a blog, TOS Part 65 here, The Power of the Subliminal Mind. Now, subliminal typically refers to the stimuli or messages that are perceived below the threshold of conscious awareness. Now, of course, they can be visual or auditory cues, and they influence behavior without conscious recognition. Just everything I just said in a nutshell. Now, I encourage everyone, the link is in the description box below. Check out the blog. We're going to be going over some points, and then I'm going right back into the conversation because when we are looking for the aspect of the subliminal, there's going to be different variations that we have to know. I have them in the blog. So, of course, I'm going to say them, but then, of course, you can always have them there for your reference. So, number one, we're going to look at the common references first. So, basically, the subliminal often refers to messages in advertising or media designed to influence consumers' behavior without their conscious awareness. Now, these images are typically brief and embedded with content to invoke specific responses or associations. Then we get into number two, mindset reference. And this is where we're going to be doing a good amount of work today. In the realm of mindset and personal development, the subliminal mindset refers to the more profound, unconscious beliefs and thought patterns that guide our actions and perceptions. These can be formed through early experiences, societal influences, and repeated behaviors, shaping our self concept and approach to life. This is the conversation today. We are going to be looking at that. Now, of course, in this article, I give some techniques for transformation. I'm just going to name them off very quickly. This is not the live session for you to rewire yourself, right? These are, the TOS is for people who have strong mindsets already. Of course, if you wanted to do the work and you wanted to figure out a couple of techniques to get it, number one, mindfulness and awareness. We're going to be talking about that a little bit. Two, reprogramming through affirmations. We talked about that before. Three, visualization and imagery. And then four, hypnosis. And then, of course, we can give ourselves new subliminal messages that override the old ones. All right. So, a lot being said there, but I do want to get into the mindset reference because I believe that is the most powerful one for us and the podcast. Because if we can start to get rid of our beliefs that are not conscious, we're going to start to develop a pattern that is going to be more in line with the person that we would like to become. It is challenging for someone to want to do good in their life and to say they're going to make some changes, but they're listening to the same messages constantly and overly, again and again and again. It's almost like, have you ever seen the image of like two people working and one person's digging a hole and they're in the hole and then the other person's digging another hole and they're both throwing dirt in each other's holes? The goal was to dig a hole, but they're not paying attention to what's happening, where both people are literally throwing dirt into the other person's hole. So they think they're making progress, but they're making very little progress. That is what subliminal messages can do if we don't eradicate them. And I use that word because we do have to get rid of them. We have to look at all the things that we were told. And I can go back to when I was a young boy. And I remember we would drink Pepsi. We wouldn't drink cola. We would drink Pepsi. And we always had like a liter, or I guess it was 2 liters of Pepsi, and we would drink that, for dinner. And I wasn't like fat or anything like growing up because I just had a, high metabolism. But having all that sugar is no good. I remember I had acne like in high school because of all the sugar, and then was doing sports and things like that. It was messing with my running. And I was like, this makes no sense. I don't need soda. Of course, if you want something bubbly, have a sparkling water, have a Perrier. Okay. That's going to be good enough. Or you can have Pellegrino. All right. sparkling waters of choice. You go to a fancy restaurant, you upgrade your water, you say, let me get a sparkling. All right. The issue with the Pepsi, me growing up, was because we would see commercials and we would see them in the grocery stores, and we're like, oh, we gotta have Pepsi. It wasn't even so much that I liked it, because Pepsi always kind of had this weird taste to me. It was like it wasn't that great or anything. I would probably want maybe a Dr. Pepper or maybe a cream soda, but I chose Pepsi, or we chose Pepsi, because they told us we needed Pepsi. It's like, oh, I guess we needed Pepsi, right? We saw the commercials and we saw this, and the subliminal message got us, right? And then I started to think when I was young. I said, you know what? When I'm older, I'm going to have a case full of Pepsi, because, of course, I need it. I need a case full of Pepsi. I need a case of these types of drinks, because what if some company came over and I needed to be able to give them something, and I wanted to give them some Pepsi, because when I give people Pepsi, they're supposed to be happy. Or it could be the same thing with Coca-Cola. It could be the same thing with a type of a chip like a Doritos or a Lay's or whatever it be. You might see a commercial, see a message that's saying, you need to have this. Now, of course, this is through commercials on TV. You might be a YouTube watcher. They have the YouTube stuff, right? So they have the commercials and the ads between the videos now. So if you're listening and you're watching on YouTube, my episodes where it's just me speaking, there are no ads. All right. I want to give you something unfiltered. You can take it, you can leave it, you can be upset with it, you can be happy with it too. All right. But it's completely free. You don't have to worry about ads. When it comes to like the blog episodes, and that's primarily what I'm talking about, Wednesday episodes are a little bit different sometimes. The blog episodes, they have two ways that you can do it. You can visually read the blog and check it out. And then, of course, you can listen to the podcast, watch the video, right? This is something that is going to help with multiple learners. So if you're a visual learner, if you're an auditory learner, you can get multiple aspects of that. And it's just the best of both worlds. So with all that being said, there's a lot to understand about when you're trying to change yourself. So me and Pepsi, right? It's like, what made me not want soda anymore? What made me not want to eat unhealthy foods frequently? Now, I still have a sweet tooth, people, right? I will eat a cake, I'll eat a cupcake if they have cupcakes at a birthday party or something. If someone brings me a cookie, I'll say thank you and I'll eat the cookie. All right. It's not something that I'm ashamed of, right? I'm human. I can enjoy my life. I'm not a bodybuilder or anything. I go to the gym, I work out, I am healthy enough. It depends on your goal, right? You might want to be Mr. Olympia, or you want to be Mrs. Universe, whatever it be. There is an aesthetic you have to look at, and we can get into the subliminal there too. But what I want to present you with is the most critical factor in changing your subliminal mind, and that is the repeated behaviors that you do. Maybe you waking up and going to the gym every day is all you need to erase the subliminal messages. Because Pepsi is telling you to buy it, Coca-Cola is telling you to buy it, Levi's is telling you to buy them, and things along those lines. You might wear Levi's, right? We have to look at what is our goal? What is our conscious goal? Many people are just living in their unconscious. They're living in their circumstance, right? They look at their childhood. And this is one of the main reasons why therapists are coming in. And one of the first questions they're asking is, tell me about your childhood. How's your relationship with your parents? These subliminal type of things are going to start to go up, come up in your mind, because you might not be thinking about your parents all the time. You might not be thinking about your childhood all the time. It's always right below it. It was right there, but it's sometimes out of reach from you looking at the root cause. And many of the root causes when it comes to people being out of shape, being stressed and anxious and in the wrong career is because they're not giving awareness to this aspect of, am I paying attention to what I desire versus what other people desire for me or from me. So that is one of the techniques, right? Number one, the awareness aspect. Now, we talk about you can reprogram with affirmations, and affirmations are a great way to reprogram yourself. It just goes back to what I said about repeating something and repeating a behavior. So, affirmations are something that you might say to yourself a couple of times. I don't need to get popcorn when I go to the movies. I don't need to get popcorn when I go to the movies. Say that 5 times, 10 times, right? That's an affirmation, right? Now you can make it more positive. I want to get in shape so I can run with my children. And it could be that I love myself. So I will not eat unhealthy foods. I love myself. So I will not eat unhealthy foods. I mean, we can go down the list of affirmations. We can make them up all day long. I say if you want to make affirmations, make ones that resonate with you because you can say a generic affirmation is I love myself. But oftentimes that same affirmation has the same mental capacity as I'm going to be a millionaire. Okay, great. It's nice to throw it out to the universe and to think. But if you don't have the steps prior to that, you're just going to be in this hopeful loop, right? Because yes, it'll be nice to love yourself. Yes, it'll be nice to be a millionaire. Yes, it'll be nice to be happy, but it all starts with action. It all starts with you. Then we get into the visual and like the imagery and imagination. It could be doing, these what do you call it? These vision boards and stuff. And what happens typically is when you're looking at it, you're daydreaming, and then you think about all the things and the things that you might not necessarily be thinking about is right below your thinking. So, for example, if you want to go to the beach, you're like, oh, I also need sunblock, right? So again, sunblock is also a subliminal message because if you go to the beach or you watch a commercial and people are putting on sunblock, it's a subliminal message that you need sunblock. Okay, so like we know what subliminal means, right? Whatever. Hypnosis and subliminal messaging, we talked about that, but hypnosis is basically the threshold right below the consciousness. And that is oftentimes why some people they don't remember that they got hypnotized because they're like, wait, I was paying attention because I'm conscious still. But then all of a sudden, it's like you slip through the cracks, and we all have the cracks. And it's not to say that a pavement or a mind is going to be perfect. We're not necessarily trying to make the mind perfect. We're trying to make the mind something that's empowered because we're taking action toward that, not something that, well, I'm going to have this moment of empowerment. I'm going to have this moment of motivation. All of those are temporary things. How can we get something that's going to stand the test of time, that's going to create longevity? This is what we should be looking at. As we look back once again, T West Part 65, The Power of Subliminal Messages or the Subliminal Mind, we can see that we are in control of what we're going to be doing, and we need to make sure we give our mind the power it needs. And if we can overcome some of these subliminal messages that are all around us, and I mean, they're everywhere, people. You turn on the TV, they're there. You go outside, you might see something that just reminds you, like, oh, wait, like I need to buy this or I need to do this because I'm seeing this, right? There's, when you go to the grocery stores and things like that, they have everything in a specific way for a reason, right? Because they know how to get people to buy things at the grocery store. They're not going to put maybe, books at the front of the store. So as soon as you walk in, you see books and you don't want to buy anything. You want to see something that you like at the front of the store so you can say, I like that. Let me see what else I can like. When you go to Costco or if you go to Sam's Club, right? You go to these bookstores. You know what the first thing they have in the grocery store is very expensive items. A $5,000 TV and these big TVs too. And you're like, well, I want a big TV like that, right? What do you need a big TV for? To waste more time? Okay, sure, right? Maybe you need the big TV to watch the Super Bowl, right? Okay, great. You get the TV. Or maybe you don't get the TV because you say that TV is $5,000. I don't have $5,000. But then you're kind of going and you see a new blender and the blender is only $199. You're like, well, I need a new blender. It's only 200. Well, guess what? Now you have a new blender. You're the proud owner of a new blender that you did not need because the blender that you had was sufficient enough. Now you have this $200 blender because you have failed to understand what the store just did to you. Because you walked in the store and you're like, this TV is so much. And then I see something a lot less. And you're like, well, this is a good deal, right? Think of good cop, bad cop, where the bad guy is like, I'm not going to talk. And then the bad cop is like, you're in it for some hard time, buddy. All right. And I'm trying to be nice to you, but you're making it really hard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw you in a slammer for 15 years. And you're going to sit there with the cockroaches. And I'm going to give you stale bread. And you're going to wish the day that is your final days, right? So the bad cop is saying all these bad things, right? And maybe they're talking bad, and maybe they're saying, like, I already have your friends' info and they're giving me all the stuff, right? And the guy is just like, like, you're unreasonable. But then the good cop comes, right? It's like, listen, he's just kind of strung out. Hey, Bobby, go get a coffee or something. Hey, I'm trying to work with you here. You got to give me something. And so now, like, the guy or the girl that is dealing with this good cop bad cop scenario is like, I would rather speak to you than that guy because you seem more approachable. You seem like a good guy. Guess what? That's when they speak oftentimes. Now, of course, you can torture them and you can, do things like that and you can break their psyche. But that's some next level stuff, and we don't need to go there. That's not the subliminal. That's, just breaking the spirit or the soul, whatever you want to call it. But there are things that we make choices for, and there's things that we don't make choices for. We have to be able to become aware and differentiate between if we're making a choice because we truly want it, or is it because someone else told me that I need it. If you go to any online grocery store or any online clothing store, they have all of these different shoes, right? And you might just be going for a pair of sandals. And the next thing you know, at your cart, you have 15 pairs of shoes. Or if you go to, like a shirt store and you just want one shirt and you walk out with, like a special or something, or you see, the mannequins, you're like, whoa, like these mannequins look real good in this shirt. Or maybe like someone is telling you like, oh, you will look great in this shirt. Or maybe you see one of the TVs and they're flashing advertising where people are in their shirts and they have their shirt off and the sunglasses and stuff. And I mean, like, the button down shirt, so like they have the shirt ajar or whatever. There's many things that happen in advertising. There's many things that happen in your given day. Sometimes we can see it, sometimes we can't. I encourage you to actually waste a little bit of time and to go on any search engine and just type in old school commercials with subliminal messages. And you're going to find that all of these commercials have been doing this all this time. So if you watch any bit of TV, if you're on any bit of your phone, these things are happening around almost every corner. So you have to be able to protect your mind and use the subliminal mindset aspect to be, if you're presented with a subliminal message, you give yourself the cue to go against it. So Coca-Cola is telling me that I need to have fun with Coca-Cola, or I can't have fun with my friends if I'm not drinking a Coke. Then you know what you need to do? You need to go out with your friends and just have a really great time. Maybe without any beverages at all. All right. Maybe some H2O. All right. There's not many water commercials, but they do have them. Okay. Brita, for example. It's a water commercial. This is the aspect, right? You don't need to do what they're telling you to live a good life. You get to make that conscious choice. You do have to develop some habits and some disciplines, but with time, you're going to find that you're not going to be able to be controlled and you're going to almost separate yourself from the pack because you have been hardwired to be a consumer from going to school. If you have went to school, you have been trained to be a consumer. If you, for example, are homeschooled, you might not have that mindset directly. For example, for the people who don't believe it, every school year you need to get a new backpack for your kid. You need to get new notebooks for your kids. And I'm talking about those kids, like for me, even growing up, I had pages. And sometimes, we didn't. But most of the time, it just depends on your teacher. Most of the times, I had whole notebooks for every single subject. And at the end of it, I had at least 30 pages left. And I'm talking about there was only 50 in the book. So that means I only use 20 pages. I can literally use that same book for the next year, but I can't because guess what? I need to have something new for the school year because the new school year needs a new notebook. Well, what about the mind? The mind needs new behaviors for new circumstances and a new lifestyle and then maybe a new pair of shoes. I'm not talking about you need to buy shoes. I'm talking about your lifestyle, right? They say daddy needs a new pair of shoes. And it's basically saying that if you want something good, you can bet it on luck or you can bet it on you. And I encourage you to, put it all on you. Don't put it on black. Don't put it on red. Don't put it on green or some random number. Bet on yourself. And you're going to find yourself able to overcome all of the odds, all of the struggles, and any type of message that is not going to benefit you long term.